Today, I'll be taking a look at a Suzuki Jimny, the 5-door version, and I'll be taking you all around the vehicle, in the vehicle, taking it for a drive and giving my thoughts along the way. But let's start with the elephant in the room. This vehicle is a very confusing proposition, but not for the reason you may think. You see, when you think of a Suzuki Jimny, you think of a bare bones, simple vehicle. That is what this was designed for, to be as simple to repair and as cheap to maintain and operate as possible. And as a result of that, most of the creature comforts you would find in mostly all vehicles today, this doesn't have it. For example, no forward-facing radar, so you have no lane keeper assist, no blind spot monitoring, no lane center keeping, no cruise control. You have none of that. You don't even have front parking sensors. No power folding mirrors with turn signal repeaters. You have electronically controlled mirrors, so you can turn the mirror up, down, left, right, but that's about it. You don't even get LED bulbs up front. Headlight, turn signals, fog lights, all are regular bulbs, not LEDs. So you take that into consideration. You get to realize that the Suzuki Jimny is a very, very basic, bare bones vehicle. There's little to go wrong with the Suzuki Jimny. And that right there is one of its only two strong suits. The other one being that it's an off-road capable vehicle. It has 210 millimeters of ground clearance, an approach angle of 36 degrees, and a departure angle of 47 degrees. Which means, as is, you can go out there on the trails or the mud or rugged terrain and have a bit of fun. You also get nice rims from the factory. It comes like this. So it comes somewhat trail ready. Also, this being the 5-door version to the 3-door, the 3-door being the 2-door version, and they count the trunk as a door. This one being the 5-door, 4 doors and 1 trunk. This one has been stretched by 340 millimeters to accommodate the extra trunk space and the 2 additional doors at the rear. So same height, same width, but slightly longer and slightly longer wheelbase. Around back, you have more of the same that's up front. In terms of you have no LEDs at the rear, you do have a rear facing camera and reverse camera shockingly, and your 2 brake light up top. In terms of trunk space, you have 211 liters. That's with the rear seats folded up. This went up from the 80-something liters that the 2-door had, so that 2-door was pretty compact. You can't fold the rear seats down in a 50-50 split, which is showing you it only has 2 seats, so 2 passengers at the rear, or 3 very small persons. But with the rear seats folded down, the space goes up from 211 liters to 332 liters. You do get a rear power outlet and a light at the back, which again, continuing with everything in front, they are not LEDs. Stepping into the rear of the Jimny, it's more of the same, simplicity and bare bones, in that there's nothing going on at the rear. You know how we always made fun of the 80 wagons bench seats at the rear? Well, the Jimny has 4 of them, driver, passenger, which are the front, and the 2 rear seat passengers. Same hard and comfortable bench seats. You don't even get the rear reading lights that most vehicles have up here by the handle. You also don't get any rear USB ports or rear AC vents. You'll get into why later on in the video. Nothing of significance takes place at the back. There is so much hard plastic at the rear that is almost like a hard plastic recycling factory. Even the door panels, for example. Yeah, just one giant hard plastic panel, but that does have its pros. For example, you open the door, rain is falling, look, it's getting wet. But you don't have to worry about any LEDs or any mood lighting getting damaged or any sensors. It's just plastic. You can just take a cloth after the fact and wipe it off. And this is where the Jimny excels. Simplicity. Now, with the driver's seat pushed all the way back to a driving position and the passenger seat pushed all the way forward, let's check out the rear legroom. On the passenger side, you have no issue because the front seat is pushed all the way forward. So in the Jimny, this is the amount of legroom I have. I can put my hands to the front of my knees. I can adjust myself. It's comfortable on this side, but only if you have no one to the front and you push the front seat all the way forward, or you have somebody who is very small up front. On the right hand side, which is where the seat is pushed back for this demonstration, I have no legroom. I have to squeeze into this small spot and my knees are up against the back of the bench seats. So if you are driving behind somebody, whether it's left or right, you have to hope that they are a short person, and hopefully you are also a short person, because if both of you are tall, problems. Also, you don't have any rear AC vents or USB ports at the back because you have no armrest. But you have 2 cup holders, so the glass is half full, I guess. Up front, more simplicity, no keyless entry, so no push button start. You have a manual handbrake, which most would like because it's less things to go bad, but again, it's a manual handbrake. And continuing with the manual theme, you don't have any dual zone climate control, any automatic climate control. You have these regular turnstile dials, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 being the highest fan speed, 1 being the lowest. You also have physical buttons at the bottom, which is a good thing. I love physical buttons. Your window switches are these two on the extreme left and right. And then you have your hill descent control and your traction control with a power outlet and a USB port at the back. A regular type gear shifter, and then you have your 4 high 4 low lever next to that. Behind that you can find your manual handbrake, and then you have your window lockout switch, and on this same center console you have your rear window switches. No frills whatsoever should be the official tagline for the Suzuki Jimny. You have a 7-inch display which is usable. In a usable sense, you get to see letters and words on your screen, but that's it. Don't expect any cool animations, any quick fast response times. Don't even expect a high resolution reverse camera. You are seeing that you're going back, and that's about it. You have basic steering wheel controls. That's on this trim. The trim above this has more steering wheel controls and a 9-inch as opposed to a 7-inch display for your infotainment. In terms of your instrument cluster, you have gauges and dials. You don't have any LCD screens with fancy animations and graphics and all of that, which is good because you have one less thing to worry about breaking on your instrument cluster. Also, on your instrument cluster, you're going to see a max speed of 180 kilometers. You'll never reach that, 1. And 2, don't even attempt it. And we'll get into why right now. The Suzuki Jimny is powered by a naturally aspirated 1.5-liter engine, which has a max rating of 102 horsepower and 130 Newton meters, and it sends the power to the road via a 4-speed automatic transmission. Yes, that's all you have. 4 gears, not even 5, not even 6, but you do have Suzuki's all-grip system, which we'll get into later on in the video. But before we go out onto the road, let's take a look at the engine bay some more. You have lots of space to work on most of the important things. Your radiator, your alternator, your water pump, lots of space to maneuver. You can fit a wrench over here, you can push a spanner over there. So it's good in that sense. Ease of use, ease of maintenance, ease of replacing parts. But how does the Jimny drive? Because after all, the purpose of a vehicle is to be able to drive. And if it's not good at driving, then what even is the point of it? And unfortunately, the Jimny doesn't improve here either. And not for the main reason many of you are thinking. Many people consider it to be an underpowered vehicle. But for this vehicle, it's a good thing that it's underpowered. I'll get to that just now. My first issue has to be the fact that in 2025, it only has 4 gears. My 2006 Grand Vitara also only has 4 gears. And the same problem I face with that, I am facing with this going up Chancellor. There are times when you are driving, when the vehicle wants to go from 3rd to 4th. Your final gear is a cruising gear. In this case, it's 4th. 3 will be a pulling gear. So 1, 2, 3 pulling, 4 cruising. It wants to get up to cruising. So you end up seesawing between 3rd and 4th, 4th and 3rd, 3rd and 4th. And when it's in 3rd, it's revving profusely. You can tell the engine is under some strain. But don't take my word for it. Here I am following the camera car up Chancellor. Listen to the engine and watch the RPM gauge, and you will see what I'm talking about, the constant fluctuations. Yeah. Isn't me accelerating to catch the camera car. That is me just driving normally, like I normally would. As you can see, distance between the car and myself remains relatively constant for most of this video. And still, you have that rapid fluctuation. If you had a 5th or a 6th gear, this would have given the engine and transmission more wiggle room in terms of their RPM. You wouldn't sound like you're constantly revving and over-revving the engine, which also would have aided the fuel economy because you have more gears, so you have better fuel economy. Now, the supporters of the Jimny would say it was never meant to be a vehicle that tops the fuel economy charts. Okay, I'll give you all that. However, even if it was meant for the trails, at some point you will be driving on regular roads. You have to drive to the trails. So why is it so uncomfortable even on regular roads? They spent so much focus to make it a rough and rugged vehicle that even going around the savannah, where you are just driving casually, you feel every bump. The sub-tagline for the Jimny should be Suzuki Jimny 5-door. Feel every bump. Here I am, driving around the savannah, watch the motion of the vehicle and watch all the subtle corrections I have to now make with the steering wheel just to try to keep the Jimny in a somewhat straight line between the two white lines. And this wasn't me wiggling the steering wheel because I'm bored. The Jimny suspension simply wasn't tuned for a relaxing drive on smooth roads. Which is why I said earlier on in the video, I don't think the problem is that it's underpowered. Because if they had given this 1 more horsepower, I think you may have flipped it around every corner. It just isn't stable in the corners either. You turn and there's so much body roll again because it was geared to be an off-roading, rugged, rough vehicle that you'd make a simple turn around the savannah and you feel like you are turning too much. And crashing is not something you want to do, especially in this particular trim. This only has 2 airbags, which is one of the reasons why the Jimny isn't even sold in America anymore. It cannot pass emission standards, which means it's more polluting than most other new vehicles, and it only has dual airbags. 2025 dual airbags, but 4 seats. The trim above this has more airbags, but this particular one only 2. Also, added to that, if you were to go right now and try to find the official NCAP safety rating for the 5-door Jimny, you would see that there is none, which means this vehicle was never tested in a crash test rating. They tested the 3-door version, which got a 3-star, when most other vehicles now boast of 5 stars. Meanwhile, the 3-door version only had 3 stars, and this one hasn't even been tested. Now, here's the thing. Even with all of that, this vehicle is still good at what it was set out to do. To be a basic, bare-bones, streamlined vehicle with little to go wrong, can get you in and out of most places you can find yourself in. And for that, I would say it's a good buy. Even though you only have 2 airbags in this trim, because after all, many of us are still driving about in Tidas and Versas and Toyota Corollas that also only has 2 airbags and none of us complains. So even then I would say, yeah, it does what it's set out to do. It's a good buy. If wasn't for the confusing proposition part that I spoke about at the start of the video, which ultimately turned out to be the Jimny's greatest downfall in my eyes at least. Because after all, it's not pretending to be a luxury vehicle, it's not pretending to be the speed demon vehicle, it's just a box on wheels. The problem is that this base trim costs $260,000. $265,000 to be exact, and the trim level just above this is GLX that has the HID headlights, the slightly better sound, the slightly bigger screen, more airbags, cruise control. That one is $275,000. Granted, both of them came down, because at the start it was $300,000. And in my eyes, both those prices make no sense. The original and the reduced price. This vehicle should be nothing more than $190,000. $185,000 on special. And this is not a Trinidad thing. This is a universal thing. Anywhere the Jimny is sold, it's sold at an extreme high markup. And they are doing this because people keep overhyping the Jimny as some godlike thing that can take you anywhere. It will last a billion years, which might be true. They are reliable. That 4-speed transmission, even though it's lacking by 2025 standards, is reasonably bulletproof. And so is the engine. So yeah, we can't take away that from the Jimny. The Jimny, like I said, isn't pretending to be anything. The Jimny is what it is, and what it is, it does it really well. But ask yourself the question, when was the last time you were driving somewhere and you met a riverbank and you said to yourself, if only I had 212 millimeters of ground clearance and 4-wheel drive, I could have gotten to the other side. If that person isn't you, or you're not somebody who is worried or concerned about approach angles, departure angles, or breakover angle, then the Suzuki Jimny really isn't a good proposition, especially at that price. This is the equivalent to buying a Bedford truck in 2025 because there's less to break. But instead of paying less for less, you are somehow paying the same for less. And this whole thing becomes even more confusing when you consider the fact that the Jimny is Suzuki's most expensive vehicle right now in Trinidad and Tobago, even costing more than the equally capable Grand Vitara, which also has the all-grip 4-wheel drive technology. I'm not going to ride a bike to work because I'm afraid if I bought a car, the car might give problems 10 years from now. That's all I'm saying.